Chocolate Cocaine highlights amazing Black women who broke barriers and made their mark in history on an erotic or sexual level. This week, Chocolate Cocaine presents Vina Fields. Vina Fields was an upscale brothel owner and madam in the Windy City, Chicago, Illinois. Vina was a former slave who began her career with 8 Black women and 1 white servant. She was the only Black madam in Chicago to have a servant. It was customary for the white madams to have servants. 2 decades later, Vina's business grew to have 19 women and 4 servants employed by her. 2 challenges Vina faced were racial discrimination and high rent. When rent was usually $40 a month, landlords knew how much money a brothel brought in, and Vina's house rented for $175 a month. Usually, those rent prices ran most madams away, but Vina remained in the centrally located area. She was a businesswoman who became one of 5 madams to own property in the Levy district and leased those properties to other brothel keepers. Vina ran the House of Pleasure in the Levy district from the 1870s until the 1910s. The Levy district was 4 blocks in the South Loop between 18th and 22nd Streets that was Chicago's red light district. Prostitution, brothels, saloons, and dance halls were booming businesses until a police raid later shut that area down. Before the raid, Vina ran the biggest brothel in Chicago. By her 30th year in the business, Vina housed and managed 60 to 70 women who made her one of the 50 wealthiest people in the city and one of the richest Black women in all of Chicago. What led to her business growth was the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition that came to Chicago. But that same year, the Panic of 1893 swept through the country, including Chicago. That was an economic depression that didn't end until 1897. Even though people were losing their jobs, the workers from the expo kept those brothels popping. Vina even did her part and fed the hungry and those out of work daily. The women at the House of Pleasure were mainly women of color. Vina only allowed white customers to visit her girls. As time passed, Vina faced many challenges, such as a new district emerging, Vina and her girls moving several times, creating financial strains, and Black women being forced out of the business. In 1907, the health department quarantined Vina's house due to a smallpox breakout. Throughout all that Vina had gone through in her business, she was seen as a trailblazer and a community giver. She provided for her neighbors and the community when hard times hit. Vina put her daughter through convent school, sent money to her family, and owned a home in an all-white neighborhood. She gave her girls enough to survive and provide for their families when regular jobs were not paying enough. There isn't any information about Vina's personal life or her death. Chocolate Cocaine presents Vina Fields.